In a small fishing village by the Sea of Galilee, people gathered daily to listen to the words of a gentle man named Jesus. Fishermen, farmers, merchants, and children filled the shores as he taught, his voice carrying over the waves, filling the air with stories that stirred the soul and sparked the imagination. But there was something about Jesus' teachings that went beyond the moment. His words seemed to speak not only to his listeners but to those who would come after them, reaching beyond his time, as though he could see far into the future. One afternoon, as the sun began its descent, casting a golden light across the water, Jesus spoke of times to come. His disciples listened intently as he warned them of hardships ahead, of a world where love would be tested, and where people would drift away from compassion, peace, and humility. He shared a parable of a farmer sowing seeds, some of which fell on rocky ground, others on fertile soil. He explained how just as seeds could grow or wither depending on where they landed, so too would faith and love flourish or fade based on the hearts they found. As he spoke, a quiet intensity filled his voice, as if he were not merely sharing a story, but offering a prophecy. His words painted a vivid picture of a future world filled with distractions and divided hearts. He spoke of people who would chase after power and wealth, neglecting the poor, the needy, and the lonely. And in those moments, it felt as though Jesus' gaze extended beyond the crowd, seeing a world yet to be. A world struggling with challenges his listeners could scarcely imagine. The disciples, puzzled by his words, leaned in closer. Peter, always the first to ask questions, hesitated before speaking. "Teacher," he began, "how can we help those who will face these trials? How can we prepare them?" Jesus looked at Peter with a smile that was both gentle and knowing. "My words are the seeds," he said, "and you are the sowers. Wherever you go, plant them in the hearts of those who will listen. Teach them to love one another. For love is the only force that can withstand the storms of any age." Jesus' teachings became filled with deeper meaning that day. He reminded them of the parable of the mustard seed, how something so small could grow into something great, providing shelter and strength. Just as his words were simple, they carried within them a power that could endure, grow, and transform hearts in any era. As the evening grew darker, Jesus led his disciples in prayer, asking for wisdom and courage for all who would come to follow the path of love and faith. He prayed not only for those gathered, but for those yet to come, for generations of people he could feel but not see. He prayed for those who would live through times of confusion, conflict, and separation, that they would find strength in his words and comfort in his teachings. When he finished, he looked up at his disciples, his gaze filled with a mysterious understanding. "In every age there will be those who seek the truth. My teachings are for them as well, for they will find me through the words I leave with you." As the years passed, his disciples would remember that moment by the sea. Through wars, persecutions, and times of peace, they shared his words, sensing that they held a timeless truth, a wisdom that reached far beyond their own lives. Generations later, those teachings would inspire countless people, guiding them through the storms of life, just as Jesus had seen they would. And perhaps, somewhere in the heavens, Jesus watched, knowing that his prophecy had come true. His words had transcended time, echoing into the lives of people in distant ages, comforting them, inspiring them, and reminding them of the power of love. His vision had seen not only his own people, his own time, but all those who would need his words, just as he had known they would.